Look what has arrived, my Daphne's Diary 100th issue. This is the number 4, 2024. It comes packed with extras. This is a beautiful herbarium where you can actually track your garden with the plants, their names, the locations, and the date, or you can just track other plants that you've seen and the date and the location that you've seen them. Lots of beautiful images that I can already picture cutting out and fussy cutting and tearing out. The thing that we're going to do today actually is we are going to create a banner. So with the magazine, there's always these little projects that you can work on. And let's find the page that has, isn't it cute, the project we're going to work on today. Here's what we're making today. So when I first saw this spread, I thought, wow, this is gorgeous. I love this banner that they have here. And it says you can find it in the back of this issue. It's like, you can make this cute bunting from the paper included in the back of this issue. So I looked through the issue and I'm like, where is the bunting? In this magazine, it is actually in the poster. So every year we get a poster, but it's not the poster this year. It's actually hiding in here. And this is where you can find the bunting. I have already gone through and fussy cut each of the images. And I've backed them as well on a white cardstock. I actually reused a file folder on the back of these, but you could use just any plain cardstock. And you can see all the beautiful images here. So the idea is that there's a pattern in the one in the example, and you've got 2 different buntings with this shape, and then 2 with this shape. I actually had to double side these because I didn't realize when I originally put them on the file folder, the writing was on the back, and you will be able to see this from the back of my window. So I wanted it to all be white in the background there. And so yeah, there's 3 of those, and then a pair of each of these different shapes with the scalloped edge. So those are really fun. So we're gonna create a bunting today. And so you basically just take your glue stick, and this is the way that I did it. I cut out a series of them and I glued them all down, and then I fussy cut them out after they were already glued onto the paper. That way I wasn't cutting things twice, right? If I had fussy cut these out, glued it on cardstock, and then cut around that, I would have been cutting twice. So to save myself the cutting, I just used my glue stick and glued them, then cut them. Something that I wanted to show you that you could make as well. If you didn't want to make a banner for your window, I had previously made this from a frame. So this frame, you can find it in our town, you can find it at Party City. And basically you take the picture part out of the frame and then you put a ring around the top of the frame, and then you could just punch holes in the bunting. And I will show you, this one is a layered banner. So it's got all different sized buntings, but you can actually take the same sort of thing here and use that in its place. And I'll show you on the last one, but I've created a whole series, and this one I've done it on both sides. Here's the largest of them. And so I can choose my display and change the picture, and I can actually even stand up because of the way that this has a frame slit on top. I can actually even do something like this where it displays with the one on top and the other one on the bottom. And you could do the same thing with this bunting here. You could create 2 holes in it with 2 rings and actually just have them on display, just like that. And then you could flip through them. You could decorate them or not, and you could have the backs decorated as well, and then have a different, it's almost the perfect, it is the perfect size right there. If you wanted to have the backs decorated with a picture and then the fronts there. So it's just another idea of what to do with these buntings, but they always come with fun paper projects inside of the magazine. So I thought that I would create this here with you today so you can see how it looks. I picked out this gross grain ribbon. It was from Michael's, and one of the reasons why I picked it is because I love pink and because it draws out some of that pink that's in there, as well as the length. I wanted to make sure I had enough ribbon. You can see I've got quite a lot here. Enough ribbon to be able to go the width of the window. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the amount that I need. I'll cut it out. But while I was there getting my ribbon and my crocodile, I actually saw my beads, and I thought, what an amazing idea to actually put the beads in between each strand. So that is going to look really neat. And I might just stick with the gold in between the pink. And I was also even thinking like I could splatter these to create an additional sparkliness to them. They're very pretty on their own. I really can't decide if I'm going to embellish them yet or not. I can think of lots of fun things to do with them. I could back them with this so that the background is sparkly and like it peeks out. I could cover them even with this sparkle. And you don't have to do the exact pattern. You could just cut the holes, like just cut this general size with the holes and then have that beautiful sparkle. Got this other one with the polka dots, too strong. Not too strong for the back, but maybe even just some of them would have this. I like the shape of that one. It does give a very pretty sparkle, but subtle enough because you can still very well see through. Okay. I could stitch this on. Wouldn't that be beautiful? To stitch around the edge of each of these. That's what we need to do here. We need to stitch them. The tough thing about this one is this is a double cardstock. We need to stitch them regardless. We need to ink them and stitch them regardless of whether or not we use this. All right. So just to show you how I'm going to do this, I basically will take a piece, lay it over top, kind of haphazardly cut it, just generally so it's right size. Like this. And then I'll just start stitching around the edge, and then I can cut off some of the excess. after. Another idea that I had was you could use vellum, put it over top. Same sort of idea. Just put a piece to fit, and then stitch the V, fill it with sequins, stitch it up top to close it, and then you've created another layer of interest on this. That's something different. So now I'm going to stitch the tulle to the piece of banner. The cakes will each be stitched around the edge, and this will add a really nice texture and detail. Instead of trying to curve around each of those edges, I decided to just do a straight stitch and then alter the piece of paper so that it all followed a straight line, even though there's a lot of curved edges. The only curve I actually did was around the base of the pedestal here. I just cut around the tulle to match. Okay, so that's some plain stitching in a zigzag just around a border of each of these. Cute. I've stitched all of the cakes with this sparkly tulle, and so that now has a beautiful finish to it. I've left these ones. I think I will ink the edges and splatter these ones, but I wanted to show you these before I stitched them up. So I've prepared these scallops. I've picked out a sequin mix, and I'm just going to pour some sequins in here. So that is what those will look like when they're all stitched up. There. So now these two can be closed up. I've just done a straight triangle in the center of them, and then I'll go around and cut out that additional leftover vellum. Now it's time to add the ink. I'm going to just come in with this very subtle pink, and this is my Tim Holtz Ranger ink pad and distressing tool. Just going to go around the edge of both of these pieces of the banner, and that pink really just adds more of a softness than anything. I'm also going to include my multimedia splatters, so I just, instead of using the spritz where I spray on them, I just actually take the handle out and tap it so that it leaves little dots of color. And then I'm going to edge the gold paste around those scallops just to define that border. I decided not to stitch these scallops on here because it would be a real challenge to try to do them all perfectly, and this way not stitching them is easier. A straight line wouldn't have looked right, and this is the only piece of the bunting that I haven't stitched. All of the other ones have stitching, so this one gets the gold gilding instead. I've treated each pair that match with the same treatment. So this scalloped triangle is going to get the sequins with the frosted vellum look with the stitching. Because the sequins are in this one and I don't want them to fall out, this is going to be the only pair that I actually put eyelets on. These are from We Are Memory Keepers. They go perfectly with the crocodile. They are the same brand, and they are going to secure that hole just so there's no sequins that fall out, even though I'm not really worried about the sequins falling out anyways, because the nature of the banner is not going to be moving around and the sequins are all lower than those holes anyway. But I thought, just to be sure, when I am taking the banner down and moving it around, I don't have sequins falling out. With the holes, I just line them up on the edges and put the little eyelets in place, and then I use the other part of the tool here to squeeze them together, and it finishes them off nicely. So the best way to cut these is to line up the pair together. Make sure they're where I want them. And then I just eyeball it. There we go. Now, I was going to originally use a ribbon, but I've decided I'm better off using embroidery floss because I want to include these balls. The best thing to do is to use a needle to stitch through. And I've got them all ordered. I'm just going to add one by one. I just have to keep the same flow. So it's going to go over and under. Like this, and then I'm going to put the ball on, the bead. These are so cute, these beads. Over and under. Over and under. And you can just pull them through. Keep extending as much as you need. So these bubblegum beads came from BB Craft. I have collaborated with them a number of times, and they always have the cutest scrapbooking supplies. So I prearranged the beads exactly the way that I want them to look ahead of time. So I just follow the same process, stringing through front and back, side to side. The nice thing about these not being glued to the back with a ribbon is that I can definitely adjust the length as I need to. So there we go. Okay, we are done the banner. Everything is threaded on, all the beads. I'm ready to hang it in the window. I'm happy with the formation and the symmetry and the varying of the patterns, and now let's see what it looks like. you so much for watching. I have a whole Daphne's Diary series. If you're interested in seeing how I put together junk journals and other projects, click here.